With a huge 55-inch 4K touchscreen, Android 11 and 4 gigs of RAM with 32 gigs of internal storage, the HKMLC 55-inch Smartboard is a great solution for any office, home or school, so let's check out exactly what this thing can do. So full disclosure before we get started though, the video is sponsored by HKMLC and they've sent me the whiteboard to showcase to you guys. So here we've got the 55-inch Smartboard, and it's essentially the same as a giant tablet running Android, which means it's a very versatile setup. You've got the Play Store on it, so you can download any apps you want, even something like Netflix or YouTube. It's all touchscreen, although there's also a remote control to go with it, and you can connect other devices to it as well. You can see I've installed it here in the bedroom, but in a classroom or a meeting room is where you're probably going to get the most out of this. You can have Zoom meetings, go through presentations while also annotating, and do plenty of multitasking on this display. And the fact that it's Android, it means if you've got a presentation or something, you could put it on a USB stick of course, but for me, the easiest solution is just to chuck it on Google Drive and then access it on the screen. So if I open up the whiteboard just to demonstrate the touchscreen, it comes with a couple of pens and plenty of spare nibs, and of course you can also use your fingers, and there's also a slight roughness to it, and this makes it feel much better for writing with the pen, but it still glides nicely over the display as you can see, and I can also flip the pen around and use the other end for another color or the eraser. Now another good feature here is the 20-point touchscreen, which is great as multiple people can write on this at the same time. And if I demonstrate here with 10 fingers, you can see it works really well. Now we've also got a split screen function, so two people can use it at the same time, or you could have a presentation on the left with your notes and annotations over on the right. On the tab at the side, we've got plenty of tools, and you can customize this dock to have the tools that you use most often already on the left-hand side. So if you need a timer, we can go ahead and set one, and you can see it displays the timer at the top while I continue to do my work. We've also got a stopwatch, which of course will count upwards instead, and again it shows us at the top while we continue to work, and you can move these timers around wherever you want them to be. Now we've also got a record button, which I can see very useful if you're doing something like a presentation, you wanted to give it to people and then send it out to them afterwards. And we can choose when we do a presentation whether we record in 1080p or we can also record in 720 to save space. Now the next tool is freeze, and we can completely freeze the screen. Crop is going to let you take a screenshot, and you can also crop into a certain aspect. Now split screen lets us open two apps at the same time and use on a split screen mode, and we can easily swap them or close them with these buttons here. Now camera is going to bring up the camera if you've got one plugged in, but for those of you that are going to be using cameras a lot, they do also have models with built-in cameras. Now Polkit is going to open up a vote, and you can even have an anonymous vote, and all they've got to do is scan in the QR code and then they can place a vote. Now Fast File Transfer again brings up a QR code which you can scan, and it allows you to quickly upload files to the whiteboard. Calendar of course is going to bring up your calendar. Touch Overlay gives you this button at the bottom left, and then you can use this button to enable or disable the touchscreen if you're doing something, maybe explaining, and you keep tapping the screen and you don't want it to change anything. And then finally, we've got the screen lock. And this is of course, if you're going to go away, leave the whiteboard where other people can access it, and you want to make sure it's fully locked so no one can touch anything. Now in terms of using the whiteboard itself, we've got select to move things around or even change their size. We've also got the pen tool where you can choose from different pens and brushes, you can change the colors, and you can also change the brush sizes. And a great thing here is that if you're using the pen, you can select two colors, one for the nib and then one for the back of the pen. Now eraser of course erases things, and you can also choose the size. You can press clean all to completely wipe the sheet clean. Now ruler gives you on-screen rulers for measurements and calculations, and there's a few rulers that you can choose from. Shapes gives you a lot of shapes to choose from, and you can select between 2D or 3D shapes, and you can even choose the color, and you simply press where you want them to be and then drag them for the size, and of course you can reposition them afterwards. Now partition is going to split the display up into multiple displays, so here you can see I've got 3 displays here, so you can have 3 people working on this at the same time, and once they're writing they can't cross over into someone else's partition, which I like. Now table adds a table to the display, and you can choose how many rows or columns you need before you place the table. Mind map allows you to quickly create a mind map, and you can keep adding or removing as many sections as you need, and I can see this one being incredibly useful, and it even neatens up your handwriting for you inside, as you can see here. Now sticky notes adds a sticky note on screen that you can type information into. Preview shows you what your page is currently looking like, and then grid gives you some grids to write on. Now, of course, we've got undo and redo, which is just going to undo what you last did, and then if you want to redo it, you can put it back. And then over on the right-hand side, we can add new pages and use these arrows to switch between them. So that's all the tools out the way, so now let's take a look at the navigation. Now this is the home screen, and you can see we've got a shortcut for Notes, File Manager, Screen Share, and Browser. You can swipe right for a welcome screen, which you can also customize. There's pre-built templates that you can just edit, so you can quickly put something together. So maybe you wanted a welcome screen for a classroom or a meeting, and this can be done in seconds. And as you can see, it's smooth, fast, and responsive thanks to a Cortex A55 chipset that powers the Smartboard. Now to bring up the menu, we've got the arrows on the left and right hand side of the display, and both of them are the same menu. They bring up options for a back button, a home button, we've got a task manager to see all of the apps that we've got open. We've then got app shortcuts, which you can remove, change, or even add more to this dock. And then all these dots, if you press that, it shows you all of the apps you've got installed on the system. The pen lets you annotate, so whatever you've got on screen, you can just start writing over it and making notes. Settings, that brings up all the display settings, which we're going to cover in a bit. And then on the bottom is the button for all of the tools that we covered earlier. Now, because this is Android, you can install any app that you personally use, whether that's Zoom, Office apps, or even some Android games or Netflix. And in this aspect, the possibilities of the board are pretty much limitless. And I've actually got things like ITVX and 4OD installed for watching TV on. And we also get 24 gigs of storage available for installing apps. Now there's a screen share option on the home screen as well, and this uses the eShare app, so anyone in the room can quickly share their phone screen if they want to share a live view, or of course you could just transfer files over to the Smartboard. Now in terms of settings, we've got the Android settings, and here you can connect the internet, hotspot to another device, or connect Bluetooth peripherals. Now under personal, you can select wallpapers, screensavers, you can set a screen lock password, enable or disable the floating tool, which gives you these options here, and you can also do 5 fingers to turn on and off the display, so you just hold 5 fingers on the board and it turns it off, you then hold 5 fingers again and it turns it back on. We can customize the sounds and the microphone in this screen here, and then under system we've got the usual things like the time, date, adding email accounts, startup and shutdown options, and system updates as well. Now in the separate quick settings that you can see, we've got options that are more for the display, so you can choose all of your inputs, and as you can see, we've got 3 HDMI inputs, a USB-C input, as well as a VGA. Under advanced, we can customize the audio and adjust things like the treble, bass, and balance. Screen, you can change the aspect ratios and turn on or off energy savings. Then under display, you can fully customize the picture to the brightness and color temperature that you want. We then got a few more adjustments under the adjust section, so as you can see, it truly is a really versatile display, and pretty much anything you need it can deliver in terms of display annotation and meeting needs. And for those concerned with the technical specs, it's a TFT LCD panel with an LED backlight. We've got a resolution of 3840 by 2160 because it's of course 4K, and we've also got a 10-bit color depth with 400 nits of brightness. Now the touchscreen is 20-point multi-touch, so 20 different points can touch it at the same time and all work perfectly. We've got dual-band Wi-Fi, which also has Wi-Fi 6 support, along with 3 HDMI ports. We've got a USB-C port for the display on the front, we've got a USB-B port, and 2 USB-A ports. We also have a remote control with it, and this has got all of the number shortcuts, as well as the menu buttons and the navigation. But to be honest, with my time with the Smartboard, I've mainly been using the touchscreen. Because it's all touchscreen, it just doesn't make sense to me to go and grab the remote. Now in terms of setup, it's also nice and easy to unbox, and it comes out the box in one piece. Then inside, we've also got a bag containing the remote control, the plug and the manuals, as well as another bag that contains the pens and the Wi-Fi antennas. Now for setup, you can get it delivered with a stand so you can wheel it around and move it wherever you want, and it does also come with a wall mounting bracket. Now I decided to reuse a bracket I already had on this wall, but because I'm in the UK with plasterboard walls, I decided to take out the original plugs and use grippets that support 80 kilograms just for extra peace of mind, as this is quite a heavy screen. But it's just a case of screwing in the wall bracket, attaching the hooks to the back of the TV, and then you can just lift it up and place it on the wall. But overall, I've been really pleased with the experience, and this is the essential version that I've got here. There are larger models and models with built-in cameras, as well as models with more RAM, more storage, and better chipsets for those of you that want a bit more, so you can of course pick the ones that suit your needs. Now of course, I've placed a link down in the description below, so you can go ahead and check it out now. And hopefully I've covered everything for you guys in today's video, but if there's anything I've missed or you've got any questions at all, then just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tech.